What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, that was
Samhain. It means the Lord of the Dead, the end of summer. 10 years ago, he tried to kill Laurie Strode. Now he wants her daughter.
Michael, go home! Go home!
this thing that lived inside of him came from a source too deadly for you to imagine it.
He's dead. Michael Myers is dead.
I knew you'd come for me sooner or later. What took you so long?
These are the eyes of a psychopath.
Michael Myers is fucking dead! D-E-A-D!
Do you know that I pray every night that he would escape so I can kill him? Happy Halloween, Michael.
All right, everybody, strap in. Let's talk about Halloween 5. This is going to be a lengthy one, I can tell already. I got a lot of notes, so let's get into it. Let's talk about Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, which came out a year later after Part 4 in 1989. This stars yet again Donald Pleasence, Danielle Harris, Ellie Cornell, Wendy Kaplan, and Beau Starr. This one was written and directed by a French guy named Dominique Othenin-Girard, who would direct The Omen 4 after this, which is also terrible. And this movie's plot goes as follows. After lying in a coma for a year, Michael Myers stalks his way back to Haddonfield, intent on killing his niece, Jamie, who's now confined to a mental institution since Michael's last attempt to slay her. Meanwhile, Dr. Loomis joins forces with the sheriff and attempts to stop Michael's latest rampage. This is one of those sequels that I saw on TV a lot growing up, this one in Part 4, so I have nostalgia for it, but the more I watch this movie, the more problems I have with it. It just gets worse and worse with each viewing. So, let's talk about this movie. This is going to be a spoiler discussion, just like all the other ones. So in case this is the first one you're watching, and you don't know what I'm doing here, it is a spoiler discussion. I'm sure you've seen it if you clicked on this video. So let's talk about it. So, in the opening, I thought it was interesting that it says Halloween 5, and it doesn't say The Revenge of Michael Myers. And honestly, The Revenge of Michael Myers doesn't even make sense, because what is the revenge? He's not getting revenge against... No one did him wrong ever. So, what's the revenge? They bring back the pumpkin intro, which I like and dislike. I like that they brought it back, just like in Part 1 and 2 and 3, that there was like a theme going on with this franchise. 4 stopped that streak, and then this one tried to start it up again. But what they went with here, I just thought was really dumb. Like the way it's shot and put together, the sound effects of like the knife swooping up and down. Like who the hell even carves their jack-o'-lantern like this? This is a madman carving a pumpkin. Just like Part 2, this one has like a previously on recap showing you the very end of Part 4. And we also get extra shots that we didn't get in Part 4 with Jamie actually stabbing the mom. We actually get to see that in Part 4. It cuts away and we just hear her scream upstairs. In this one, we actually get to see her stabbing her foster mom in the bathroom. They also insert shots in here that weren't used in Part 4. The shots of them dropping dynamite down the well or whatever it is that's down there. I'm not sure where the hell they are when he drops down there. He just somehow falls back and goes through the earth and then lands in the river. So here comes my first big negative for this movie. I already said I don't like the opening intro, but this is the big negative of the film, and that's the mask once again. It somehow got worse. And it's like, it's weird, like they show that footage of what he looks like in Part 4, and then not even a minute later, it's the same night. And then like he goes from Part 4's mask to Part 5's mask, and it looks worse. And it was created by the K&B guys, who would also do a mask for H2O later on, and it just looks terrible. I think they molded it over like Nicotiro's face. It's supposed to be him. The mask looks extra ridiculous when he's floating down the river swimming. It just, you can't help but laugh when you watch this. It's ridiculous. Another thing that I notice every time, besides how terrible the mask is that wire that's like clearly holding Don Shanks into place, like not letting him just keep going down river. You can see that something's holding onto his back.
There's nothing out there, Chucky.
Then we get the biggest what the fuck moment in this franchise. The whole hermit out there in the middle of nowhere, living alone with his parrot. Wacka wacka, wacka wacka. I'm not sure what the parrot's saying, but that's what it sounds like. And he gets attacked by Myers briefly just to get passed out, and then he like puts him on a bed and takes care of him for a year. Why is this guy taking care of Myers? I know that they reshot it. This was supposed to be like some Dr. Death guy who was going to be probably like a part of the Cult of Thorn, but it makes no sense. So this guy's Myers is just on a bed for a year, and this guy doesn't seem to think that's weird, that this guy tried to attack him. He doesn't know what's going on in town. He doesn't know that there was just a murder, like rampage, and that this guy was responsible. He didn't hear the dynamite and gunshots going on upriver. How far did he go? I mean, does this guy not read newspapers, have a TV, watch the news? He doesn't know who he's fucking with here? Come on. And he, like, is what, feeding him? I mean, they make it seem like he's in a coma, and the fucking plot synopsis even confirms it. So he's in a coma for a year. He's not, like, hooked up to anything like, you know, people in hospitals are. He's just in the bed, not hooked up. Is he, like, feeding him with a feeding tube? What's he doing? How is he keeping Myers alive? I guess he's just pure evil, and he can't die. He doesn't need to eat. He doesn't shit, but he eats dogs. We know that because of Halloween 1. And this is supposed to be the same Myers, so he eats. We know that. What is he eating? I know I'm overthinking it, but it's stupid. The writing of this movie is illogical. And I think they started this movie with like no completed script, and it makes sense. The incomplete script equals failure. All right, why would you start shooting anything without a completed script? And it just shows. Like, it was supposed to be like some Dr. Death guy, like I said, and we're gonna get that footage back apparently, right? Scream Factory is gonna like put it on the bonus features of the next Blu-ray, which I'm not buying because this movie's terrible. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. Like, he would have to be like taking his whole outfit off because it's like one, you know, it's a mechanic suit. So he's gonna take the whole suit off and wipe his ass, and then like put like a bedpan underneath him. Like, it's absurd. This whole thing, like when you start to actually think of it, it's ridiculous. Absolutely. And so I'm not gonna talk about it much longer. And why make it a year later? Like, you can make this make sense having the hermit take care of him for some dumb reason, like he's just a good Samaritan. If it just would have said 1 day later, why does he have to attack on Halloween? They just gotta keep sticking to the formula. It has to be Halloween. Just like every time they transport this guy, it has to be on Halloween. Like, oh, it's Halloween, let's transport Michael Myers so he can break out. Now, I heard that the mask was changed because the Part 4 mask they had, and they tried to put it on him, but Don Shanks, it wouldn't fit his head like it did George P. Wilbur, and that's why they had to change it, unfortunately. In this movie, they say that the foster mom was wounded. She's still alive. She didn't get killed. At the end of Part 4, you were under the belief that she was dead. And now in this one, they're like, no, she's still alive. So that's just like a cop-out, and it's a cop-out that they decided to bring back Myers and not have Jamie Lloyd be the killer. Like, I get diehard fans, they just want to keep seeing Myers kill, but when you promise a killer kid, you should deliver that in the next movie, just like with Friday the 13th, Part 4, they should have did Killer Tommy in Part 5, but this movie, just like that franchise, decided, nope, we're going to bring back Myers, even if it makes no sense. So this is when we're introduced to the Cult of Thorn. We see that now he has a thorn symbol on his wrist. It was not there before, so it had to be put there by the hermit, or Dr. Death, somebody, right? And this gets explained what it means and everything in Part 6, and it's just another ridiculous element in this movie, the whole thorn symbol on his wrist, and the fact that he kills the hermit after a year of saving his life is funny to me. It's like, oh, thank you for saving my life for the last year, taking care of me, wiping my ass and feeding me, you know, being a good Samaritan. I'm going to kill you now. And you can tell that the footage they're showing you when he's getting killed is the other actor, because they're clearly like zooming in. You can't see what exactly is happening to the person. Like, when you watch it now, it's like obvious, like, okay, yeah, that's a reshoot. Another thing I don't like about this movie is making Jamie mute, because they really do absolutely nothing with it. I get why she's mute, because she's possessed by the evil that is possessing Myers. He's been mute since he got, cursed by Thorn, I guess, in part 1 as a 6-year-old boy. That's what made him go crazy now, if we're considering this canon. So she's got the same problem as Myers. That's why she's mute too. But then all of a sudden, later on, she just gets her voice back, and she didn't have to do anything to get it back. It just came back randomly. It's like there's no achievement there. It just, what does she do? I don't understand why she had to be mute if you're not going to actually do anything with it, really.
You sense something, don't you? Tell me. Tell me what you know. Right!
One thing about this movie that I like and kind of dislike is Loomis. I like that he's here because to me a Halloween movie isn't really complete without him, but now at this point it just feels like he's shoehorned in because they're like, well, we gotta have him. He's gotta be here. But what they do with his character, how he's written, his dialogue for the most part is not that good. He just sounds fucking crazy. Like, he is off his rocker. When we first see him in this movie, he is like almost trying to get like Jamie killed. And I believe that later on in the movie that he probably would get Jamie killed if it meant getting Michael captured and killed. How does he even know that she's going to stabilize? And how does he know that there's a psychic link between her and him? Like, I get that he would probably think that she's evil because of what she did in part 4, so I get why he's sticking around, because he thinks that she's the next Myers. But why does he think that she's connected to Myers telepathically, like that they're psychically linked? And the whole them being connected thing, it was kind of hinted at in part 4, that whole like ambulance dream sequence. But it's like very heavy in this movie. It's just constantly like her going, "Oh, I'm mimicking his movements," but it's like convenient writing because it comes and goes randomly. Like, she knows that Max is about to get attacked, and she warns them about Max. And then when Rachel's getting killed, there's no warning before that. She gets killed, and then she starts having like an episode. So it's just convenient as hell. So then we get introduced to one of the most annoying characters in this franchise, and that is Tina. There's no script, so I just got to ad-lib. I'm going to make shit up. This is all I can think of. Did the script really say just keep making noises, Tina? Like, no. She probably came up with that, and what a terrible decision. Makes her character unlikable right away, and then we find out later on that she hates cats, so she's even more unlikable. I can't stand her character. I just cannot fucking stand her. She's annoying as fuck. And then like this angry person throws a rock through the window and just so happens to hit the right window. So that person knew exactly what window was the window that belonged to the room of Jamie Lloyd. How does that person know that? Like, it's a big building with 1,000 windows. Like, I think it's this. Again, overanalyzing, but that's what this is. In-depth review. And this is going to be a big old rant because this movie has a lot more negatives than positives. But I will point out some things I like. So it's not going to be all bad. Just to overanalyze further, how does that person know that Jamie Lloyd's evil? Word just spread out quickly that she was evil even a year later because she stabbed her foster mom like a couple of times. A year later, some citizen in Haddonfield is that pissed off. Kill the evil child! It's as if they know that she's like Myers Jr. and she's going to be fucking evil one day, so they're just protesting. It's ridiculous when you really think about it. If it would make more sense if the person who threw that rock was the foster mom. And she's like, kill the evil child. Look what she did to me a year ago. I still got the scars, damn it. You know, Rachel should feel guilty about leaving on Halloween. Like, this is the year anniversary of the most fucked up night of little poor Jamie Lloyd's life. And you're going to go do whatever, have fun. I don't know what she's going to go do, but she's being selfish. Stick around and protect Jamie that you seem to love in part 4, but now you're just like, I just gotta go do my own thing in some other town. And it's written this way so that when she dies, no one's questioning where the fuck she's at. They just think that she's out of town. And then, so it just makes her feel like a secondary throwaway character, like cannon fodder. The way they get rid of her in this movie is terrible. I mean, the whole sequence it makes no sense. Like, why Myers is standing behind her in the closet. He could walk up and stab her right then and there as she's on the bed, but then he just walks in the other room like, I'm just gonna let this scene linger a little longer. Like, just stab her already. I do like that this movie brings back the whole stalking thing. We didn't really get much of that in part 4. Myers just seemed to pop up and kill people. There's a little bit of stalking, but in this one there's a lot more stalking. There's a lot more shots of Myers, like, you know, behind the shoulder shots like part 1, except framed worse in this movie because you see like the mask involved, like in the shot too, and it's like not even tucked in and it just looks weird. Like, the framing, the way Myers is shot in this movie, the way he's lit, he's overexposed. They show him way too much, but I like that they brought back the stalking, but it's just not done as good. Like, the most laughable example of the stalking is when Wendy is, that's the actress name, when, you know, Tina and whatever, the other chick, are talking to each other, and you can just see Myers in the background. He's not standing still like he should have, just looking at them. That would have been creepy. He's just kind of like lumbering around like, I'm just bored. I think I'll play with this tree branch that's hanging pretty low. Like, he's just messing with shit. It's like, I don't know. The director didn't tell me what to do, so I think I'll play with this fucking branch. Like, it's absurd. Cut that out. Like, make him just stand still. It's not that hard.
All clear.
Nothing above, nothing below.
What about Max?
Adobe, right?
This is not happening to me. Max! Max, what have you done? I'm so embarrassed.
It's what we're here for.
Rescue cats.
Find dogs.
That's a job.
And we love it.
This movie has a cliche that's in a lot of horror movies in the 80s and even now, and that is doofus cops who are no good. And what makes this even worse is the music that is playing when they're on screen. Beep, burp, beep, burp. And then it's like banana whistle, what do they call it? Like the slide whistles, what do they call the sounds like in cartoons when they slip on a banana peel. It's cartoon music, and the director told the composer to do that, so that's the director's fault, not Alan Howarth's fault. The director wanted them to seem extra goofy. He called them penguins on set. Like, I want you to walk like penguins and be penguins. Like, this director didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Wouldn't Rachel see Myers in the reflection when she's in her room? Like, he walks by and he's like going to the hall. She's looking in the mirror, dressing up. Wouldn't she see him behind her? Just want to point that out. But maybe the angle was just right so that he could sneak on out. But why sneak out? Like I already said, he could have just stabbed her then and there. But then we get the scene where she gets stabbed by the scissors, and the way this is done is terrible. She was going to get stabbed in the throat with scissors, but the actress protested that, and she gets stabbed in the shoulder, which usually in horror movies doesn't even kill you. So it's not even a convincing death. It's not a good kill, and it's too early in the movie. She should have had a sacrifice moment towards the end, like Tina does. That should have been her moment. It's just so many bad decisions that this director was making, and I just don't get it. Like he said, it was for shock. Like, oh, it's going to make the film unpredictable, and we're going to shock the audience. We're going to pull a Psycho. It's like, but this isn't how you do it. This is just bad. A lot of Loomis's dialogue in this movie is just him yelling in Jamie's face. He just seems like an asshole in this movie, but he does have one good line in this movie.
I prayed that he would burn in hell, but in my heart, I knew that hell would not have him.
That's really the only good line in this movie from Loomis. Everything else is like, the rage! Go home, Michael! I'll be waiting! Another thing I'm not a fan of in this movie is the music. It's technically the same theme song, but the way it's tweaked, the way Alan Howarth does it this time around, the way it's edited into the film, I just don't like it. It's jarring at times, and then there's like electric guitar cues here and there while they're walking around talking. It's not Halloween. Like, take those, I don't like those electric guitar cues. It's just a lot of the music and sound design and sound effects are just bad. Like the clown music, and then even some sounds later on that I'll talk about.
They should ban Halloween in this town.
There is no way he hurt her. That is complete bullshit. He's driving a loud sports car with the music blaring. He's like a fucking mile away. We see her POV. He's far away. What? No, absolutely not. So after that little bit, we get this chase through the basement with Danielle Harris, Jamie Lloyd. She's being chased. She thinks she's being chased by Myers, but then it's like a big fake out at the end. It's like, no, it was the janitor who kind of looks like the dude from Creepshow, the Crate segment. And I just don't like this scene. The music here, especially, I was talking about it earlier. Listen to this scene. I don't like the music and the way it's done here. It just keeps stopping and starting, stopping and starting. I don't like it. And it's just a big fake out. And then when the one nurse lady comes in, she's like, oh, Jamie, we've been looking all over for you. Like, she literally just left her room not even a minute ago. Like, she sees Myers out the window, runs downstairs to the basement. It's not even a minute later, and they find her. Like, we've been looking all over for you. Where the hell have you been for the last 30 to 60 seconds? Like, where the fuck have you been? Like, it's just ridiculous. So then we get the Man in Black, and this is just some other bullshit that the director threw in. Like, they were just throwing everything at the wall just to see what sticks. And unfortunately, to me, none of it sticks. And this is another one. Like, we need something interesting. We need to just throw something in here to make the audience perk up and be like, what's this? What's going on? Like, just to get them interested in this bad film again. Like, and then at the very end, we get no answers. It's just like, oh, I guess he's just here to break out Myers. But why? That we won't find out till 6 years later. And the Man in Black was played by Don Shanks. Interesting fact. He also plays Michael Myers. And he also has the thorn tattoo on him. And he hates dogs. He kicks dogs. And so I guess that's why Myers is always eating and killing dogs throughout the franchise. The whole cult of Thorn hates dogs. And he kind of looks like Creighton Duke. I thought it was Creighton Duke. That's who it should have been in Part 6. I know at this point, Halloween 5 fans have already shut this off because it's getting very negative, and this is just a big rant. But I have to rant about something else here. The Myers house. What the fuck? Again, just another example of the director not giving a shit about the fans of the franchise, just having his own vision and wanting to create that and just ignoring everything else. Like, I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I want. Let's make this big gothic-looking Victorian place and have it not look at all like the original house. Not even close. We know what the house looks like. We've seen it in Part 1. We saw it in Part 2. We know what it looks like. You know, I said in my other reviews that Loomis only smiles twice in this franchise. Once in Part 1 when he scares Lonnie, and then in Part 4 when he's talking to Jack Sayer. But I completely forgot about this moment when he's in the basement and he scares himself. He starts chuckling and laughing and, you know, has a smile on his face. So I guess he smiles 3 times in this franchise, not twice. You know, for a tough badass, Mike listens to some pretty girly music when he's in front of the liquor store. And then when he pulls around, it goes from daytime to night. He's like, pull around back, all right? I'll give you the beer. And then he does, and it's like day, then night. And I like how he's like, you know, this is my baby. Don't touch my fucking car. And like, he cares so much about his car. He obviously doesn't care about his tires because of the way he screeches on out of there. It's like, you're wearing and tearing your tires. So obviously you don't care that much about your car.
Okay, asshole. You want to play? Trick or treat!
And then we get the best kill in the movie, in my opinion, and that's the like fork thing in his face. I forget what it's called, but it's like for gardening. This is like Farmer Myers. He's using all kinds of farming tools, this tool, and then later on the pitchfork and then the scythe. But I like this kill. It's my favorite one. This asshole deserves it. He gets killed right after he was about to impersonate Busta Rhymes. And then we get another example of bad editing, though, during this. When he's on the ground, you can clearly see that there's like a hard cut, some kind of cut in there. I don't understand why that's there. That was just a bad decision. One character you can take out of this movie completely is Billy. You can just have Jamie Lloyd speak and not have this guy speak for her. And why have this guy who's supposed to be like the voice of Jamie to like translate for her? Why have this character be a stutterer like the guy in Friday the 13th Part 5? It's just, why? There's so many decisions where I'm like, why? What's the point? And why is it that every time there's a character that stutters, their name is Billy? Like, you can name so many movies like It and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or like Billy. It's always Billy every single time. So somehow Michael Myers knew to pick up Tina at Rachel's house at a specific time also. Like he knew where and when to pick her up. So I guess at some point he overheard their conversation. I don't remember him being around during that conversation, or if that conversation ever took place. I would have to go back and watch it again, but I have to question how he even knew to go pick her up there. And then I have to question why this whole scene. Why drive her around and then do everything she tells you? Like, people complain in Resurrection when he, like, backs down to Busta Rhymes. Like, okay, I guess I'll go this way. It's happening here, too. She's like, stop the goddamn car. I want a pack of cigarettes. And then he slams on the brakes. Like, she's so annoying that he's like, fine, I'll stop. I'll fucking drop your ass off. I can't stand you. And then that's when he, like, puts on the other mask. And, like, why change the mask? I'm sure if he picked her up in the Myers mask, she would have just been like, oh, hey, Mike, because he's in Mike's car. So, just like the whole sheet thing in Halloween 1, why do that? It's because if Bob showed up with the Halloween mask, the Myers mask, and Linda would have been like, oh, Bob, what are you doing in that mask? Like, it doesn't matter what mask he's wearing. They would just assume that they're the boyfriend, you know? So, but it's like, was he going to kill her at that moment when he's, like, sneaking, like, this mask off and getting the other mask from underneath and putting that on? Like, he's like, all right, this is the moment. I'm ready for the kill now. Why couldn't you just kill her before? Why not run her ass down when she's, like, twirling around in front of the car, showing off her outfit? Just run her down.
Cookie woman.
Cookie woman.
So Jamie gets her voice back when she says, cookie woman. Cookie woman, what's that mean? Then he starts giving cops orders and they just listen to him. They're like, fine, all right, shut up. If it'll just make you stay quiet, we'll do whatever you want. He's just barking orders and they're taking them. So they go to this farm party and they get this brilliant idea to do this prank that would, in real life, get them killed. And it's so insensitive, this prank, knowing who these people are and knowing who they know. Like, so Tina, who is best friends with Rachel and Jamie Lloyd, you know, Rachel, the sister or foster sister of Jamie Lloyd, who's been friends with them for like a year now and is very close to Jamie, she is doing this prank where she's making light of the situation of her boogeyman uncle pretending to be a victim of him. It is so mean for her to be doing that, to be making light of that situation. She is a bitch. Like, Spitz goes out there, he's about to kill her, and the cops come out, they have him at gunpoint, and they never yell freeze, and they never pull the trigger right away like they should, because they think that's Myers, they know who Myers is, they would fire their guns right away. He would be dead. Realistically, Spitz would be dead. And Spitz is the guy from Child's Play 3. Whitehurst, where the fuck is Andy? I love that movie. Then we get the whole barn sequence, and I like the way it looks, the cinematography here, the way it's lit. There's some good atmosphere in this movie, so that's one of my positives for this movie. One of my few things that I like is the way the movie looks in a lot of moments, especially the barn sequence. I think this movie, kind of like Part 4, has a lot of Halloween atmosphere in it. But what I don't like about the barn sequence is the 40 jump scares and like fake out scares. Like, it's just constantly like them hearing noises and nothing happening, and then, oh, Spitz is scaring Tina, and then not even a minute later, oh, Spitz is scaring the other chick, and then it's like again and again and again. There's so many fake outs in there, and then the cat jumps out at her, and then she's like petting her, like, oh, I hate cats, why am I doing this? Like, it's so many fake out scares in that sequence. It's redundant. This movie, just like Part 4, has no nudity. We get this beautiful girl, Samantha, about to have sex, and we actually get to see them whip out a condom. That's very rare for a slasher movie. And he gets killed for having safe sex. So what's the message here? Usually it's the other way around. They get killed because they weren't using protection. And in this movie they are, and they still get pitchforked, very much like the Prowler. And the effect looks okay, but then they cut back to it. And you can clearly see now, because of the Blu-ray, that it's like this big fake chest that's like protruding off of his real body. Like, it doesn't look that good in the next shot. And then we get a cutaway kill with Samantha when she gets hit with the scythe. Like, she gets her throat slit, and it's just a lame off-camera kill. And we don't even really see her body afterwards. Not really. It's like too far off to the side. You can't really see. You can see Spitz afterwards. But yeah, I'm glad he's dead because his laugh was annoying. Did anybody else realize that there's just this random old lady sitting in a rocking chair in the living room during that party? She's just like confused, like, I didn't invite these people. And just a little side note here, this is completely random, but I used to always think that this was the movie that had a scene that probably doesn't even exist, but it's a memory, so it has to. I don't know what movie it is. Maybe you can help me out. But I thought this was the movie that had a scene where there's a costume party like this, and then some chick went to the bathroom, and then at some moment, she just plugged her nose, and then when she sneezed, her brains blew out the back of her head. Is that a movie? I've always had that in my head, and I thought it was this movie, but it's not. So, anybody know what that movie's from? I don't know. Another thing I realized is during the car chase, A, why doesn't he just run them over? But he just wants to taunt them. I guess he's just toying with them. I get it. All right. But B, one thing I noticed also was that there's a mirror that shatters out of nowhere. There's just this random cut where it looks like the car drove through a random mirror that's out in the field. Why would they keep that shot in the movie? Editing 101, take that out. Don't leave shit like that in. And to continue my critique of the editing, did anybody else notice the like 5-6 random shots of slow-mo in this film? It's like throughout. There's just random little moments. Like one when she's looking back at the house. I don't know why she turned around at all. But when Tina looks back at the house, random slow-mo. When Jamie is in the field and she looks back up at Myers, like random slow-mo. Like, I need her to sit up slower. She did it too quick. I can't go back and reshoot it, so let's just slow it down. So then Tina finally bites the bullet. She gets stabbed in her shoulder, just like Rachel. So we get 2 shoulder stabs, but she's dead, right? They cart her away and she's like lifeless, sitting there, you know. Like, so I'm thinking she's dead. I want her dead. So in my mind, we don't see her again, so she's dead in my mind. How did Loomis get there? You know, why is he there before the cops? You know, he's there way before the cavalry. So how did he know to go to that field? He's just like there. Like, they're writing the script and we're like, well, we need Loomis here, but fuck, we didn't explain how he would know where they are. But fuck, he's just here. We're just gonna write him here in this scene because he needs to be here. There's no way he would know where the party was. Only the people there and the 2 cops who are now dead would know. There was never a moment. They could have just shot a scene where when they're in the car playing Crazy Eights, they pick up the walkie, you know, someone's like, hey, where are you guys at? They're like, oh, you know, Loomis had us follow Tina, so we're at the Tower Farm over at blah, blah, blah street. And then Loomis would find out, and then they would go there. There you go. I just helped fix the movie. Not really, because there's 1,000 other problems, but still, come on.
Michael, go home. Go home! Go to your house. I shall be there waiting for you. You'll find her waiting for you.
So Loomis is there having a conversation with DeForest, and he is talking about his new rage theory, something we've never heard before, but now he thinks he knows what the problem is, and it's just that Michael Myers is pissed off. He's got all this rage in his heart that he just needs to get out by killing people. And the 100 people he's killed so far just wasn't enough to get rid of that rage. I do like the Judith Myers callback with Jamie Lloyd being in the same room in a very different looking house. You know, technically it's the same house, but she's like in the same room, brushing her hair in front of the mirror. But she's not topless in this one, so that's not quite the same. Okay, so then she has this panic. Like I said, it just comes and goes, comes and goes. She can't 24/7 see where Myers is at to tell them. It just comes and goes. She's like, oh, he's at the clinic trying to kill Billy and everybody there. And I wish we could have seen that massacre. I heard it might have been shot, but it's never been seen on any bonus feature DVD or Blu-ray that I've seen. So I would like to see that massacre. But so she has this convenient episode here to get all the cops over at the clinic. They were all there waiting for Myers. like the damn tagline of the movie said, this time they're waiting for him. But now they're not, because they go to the fucking clinic and they're like, let's just take all of us over there and we'll just leave this overweight cop alone with crazy Loomis to take care of Jamie Lloyd. Just these two people. That's all they need here. That's ridiculous. You could have just been like, all right, you half will go to the clinic and us half will stay here in case he comes back. In Loomis's plan, I don't understand. Okay, so his plan only works if this happens, but there's no fucking way that he would know that she was going to have this episode and cause everybody to go to the clinic. Like, he has this whole system set up with chains on the first floor, but yet he wants to lure Myers to the second floor to get, what's her face? I don't know why I'm blanking on her name right now. Fuck, Jamie Lloyd. But it's like, he couldn't have predicted shit like that. Is he Nostradamus now? It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand this scene at all. It's so convenient. And then when you see that cop talking on the walkie, it's clearly ADR. Or maybe it's not, it's before that. Like, when he's talking, it is ADR, and it is, again, jarring.
We just had a distress call from the clinic. They haven't been able to reach them again. There were 4 men up there.
Another thing that kind of bugs me, and this is not Don Shanks' fault, this is the director's fault. It's how he just stands with the knife up like he's a statue. Just like, I'm keeping it raised. He keeps the knife up here at all times in the third act. It looks weird. I don't know why he's across the room. He's still like this. I don't like that. Imagine if Nick Castle in Halloween 1, when he was walking across the street to get Laurie, he was like this the whole time. Like, I'm coming. Yeah, I'll be there any second now. I'm just going to keep this knife up here. So this cop, who I guess wasn't around a year ago to know that bullets don't do shit to Myers, is shooting at Myers with a 6-shooter, but somehow manages to fire 10 rounds. Again, maybe that was the editing. It's even more than part 2 with the 7 shots. In this one, they decided to up it to 10. This cop was not very bright, but I will say he was pretty well hung. Now here's a scene I do like, and that's the laundry chute scene. This, to me, is good tension building here. With her dropping to the bottom, he's reaching down at her, then he goes to the basement, he's reaching up. He can't somehow open up that thing, even though he's so strong that he can break all these other things very easily. He just can't manage to open up the laundry chute for some reason, but whatever. But it's still a cool scene. It's very intense. He's stabbing at this little girl, and he actually manages to get her leg, and it's the shot they took out. There was going to be a shot of the knife hitting her leg, and that's why later on you can see it bleeding. But yeah, that's a great sequence. That's the best scene in this movie. So then Jamie, for some reason, I guess the front door is locked from the inside. She can't get out. So she has to go all the way up to the attic. And there's all these candles lit and dead bodies, a coffin that he grabbed instead of a tombstone this time. And none of the cops saw that shit. There was 100 cops there earlier. They swept the place. They were inside, right? They didn't do a sweep of the attic? What is this, Black Christmas? That's bullshit. And just like her mother in part 1, she's bumping into all the dead bodies, and for some reason, when you see the dead dog, it barks. They throw in a barking noise with that dog. Like, hey, remember when this thing was alive and barking? That's what it used to do, remember? Like, yeah, I know what a dog does. I know what it sounds like, but why do I need to hear it now? The dog's dead. Why is it barking? That makes no sense. And another thing that I don't get is her decision to go lay in the coffin. She just like, all right, I guess this is it. I'm just going to lay down. I'm toast. And then she goes, Uncle? Which I heard wasn't even actually Daniel's voice. That was like Mustafa Akkad's niece or someone saying it. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, she's like, Uncle? And then he takes his mask off. And he has no burns on his face. Even though his hands are fried, we know his face would be burnt. We've seen part 2, right? His whole body. The end shot of part 2 is his whole face melting. So why is his face so pristine and clean, like he moisturizes and shit? Like, it's ridiculous. And K&B said they actually made a burn makeup for his face. Why didn't they put that on? Or I guess the director was like, no, fuck that. I want his face to look normal. And then he starts to cry. This is almost the equivalent of Jason Voorhees crying and screaming in pain in Jason Takes Manhattan, which came out the same year. 1989 was the death of the big three. You had the three worst movies of all three franchises in 1989. Dream Child, Jason Takes Manhattan, and Halloween 5. I mean, Resurrection's pretty fucking terrible too, but still, like, this was the downfall.
You don't need that.
Now, why exactly is he crying? That's something I've always wondered. Is it because in that moment he realizes what he's done? Is it like he's broken through the curse for that moment? Like the spell has been taken off of him, the thorn rage has been taken out of him for that moment just because she said the secret word, uncle? That was all it took? Then just keep saying it. Every time he gets pissed off again, he's like, wait, uncle, 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 safe word, uncle. That's the safe word between them. Like, then he starts crying. It's because, like, he realizes what kind of a monster he is, but then he just goes back to stabbing again. Like, they don't flesh these things out and explain them at all. There's like, fuck it, you do all the explaining. You fill in the blanks. We're not going to explain the Man in Black. We're not going to explain why he feels the need to take off his mask and start weeping like a child. It's just for your interpretation. I don't understand it, but I'm thinking it's just because he broke through in that moment. Like, he's realizing who he is, and he's remembering his innocence from when he was a child before the Thorns cult corrupted his soul. But then somehow her touch was all it took for the spell or curse or whatever to come flood back in and make him fucking pissed off again. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. So then Loomis, he lures Myers all the way down to his little trap that he has set down there, which is just a bunch of chains and a dart gun because, you know, bullets aren't going to kill him, but some darts with some tranquilizers or Thorazine in them, that will help. That will put him down. It's just such a weird plan. I don't, like, it's like this is the big finale, like chains dropping on him and shooting him with a dart gun a few times. Like, I don't know, that just seems a little lackluster to me. But we get this, like, Tommy Jarvis at the end of part 4, the final chapter moment where he's like, die, die, hitting him again and again, and he broke Don Shanks' nose on set that day. And then they arrest Myers in his mask. It's like, again, in Friday the 13th, the final chapter, when they take Jason's body to the morgue in his hockey mask, which they would never do. So then we find out what the Man in Black was there to do. He was there to free Myers in case he ever got captured. And if he never got captured, what was he going to do? Just keep lurking around town? We keep seeing him here and there throughout the movie doing nothing. But he was just waiting for Myers to get arrested, I guess, so he could do his duty. Like, all right, this is my moment. And somehow, like, we know who the Cult of Thorn is in part 6, and that there's, like, many members. Why would you send one person to take out an entire police department? You would send multiple people, but I guess one was enough. This guy somehow manages to gun down everybody and free Myers, and for some reason felt that TNT, some dynamite, was necessary. He explodes him out of his cell instead of just grabbing some keys off of a dead cop and taking him out that way. And 2 movies in a row, at the very end, Jamie is told to stay in the car, and what does she do? She gets out to go investigate. And just like the end of part 4, in this one, Jamie's the one yelling no instead of Loomis. So that's the end of the movie. I know I bitched and ranted a bunch, but like I said at the beginning, this is a movie that every time I watch it, I like it less and less and less. And the only reason I'll ever watch it again is if I'm just in a marathon mood. You know, just watching all the Halloweens. That's the only way I'll watch this one again. It's got so many problems. There's so many bad editing decisions, directing decisions. It's got some atmosphere. There's some good cinematography here. I kind of like Don Shanks' performance as Myers in moments, but then there's other moments where the director had him do stupid shit that I pointed out earlier. And then, you know, I like the return of Loomis. I like the return of Jamie, but then I don't like what they did with the characters and the writing. There's just things that are just mixed mixed bags with me. Like, I kind of like it, but I don't like it at the same time. And the music, it's got some good kills in it, I'll give it that. But fuck, just a big disappointment every time I watch it. But that is my lengthy, long-ass review. This is probably going to be like an hour long, but I knew that going into this. I was like, if any of these reviews are going to be really long, it's going to be part 5, because I'm going to have a lot to say. So I'm not surprised that it's long. But hopefully you stuck around. Hopefully you didn't get too pissed off. Halloween 5 fans are not going to like this video, so I'm curious to see how many dislikes I got already. Yeah, let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's just an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.